of addiction. Tonight's topic is emotional regulation and some practical tips on how to achieve this by practicing it every day. For those who are new to my channel, my name is Ashley Bloxham. I'm a therapist. I specialise in childhood and trauma, but I also am an addictions counsellor. I've overcame addiction myself. I think that qualifies as the most. I've studied it right the way up to PhD level. And I've also know what it's like to have a loved one who's struggling with addiction. So I really do understand it. And I'm here to answer some questions. But tonight's topic is about emotional regulation. I talk about this a lot on the channel, about how learning to regulate our emotions is helpful in addiction recovery, and it's something we can start before we even get to the point of removing the addiction, but it's also just super helpful in every area of life. So we often think about emotional regulation is do not feel anything, and I certainly fell in that trap. I just don't want to have feelings, only positivity. But it's not true. It's about how to have emotions that don't absolutely destabilize things. Like sometimes our emotions, and certainly mine, is like throwing a grenade. It's just going to have huge collateral damage. So if we think about the object of this is not to feel, but rather it's about regulating it. And the best way to think about this is it's a 3-step process. The first step is body. Before we tackle emotions, we need to just regulate our nervous system. Speak about this all the time, but that just looks like relaxing your posture, your jaw, opening yourself up instead of like leaning hunched forward, and taking some deep breaths where you're breathing out longer than you're breathing in. So first, body. Then we hear the saying of heart and head. Now, if we are only going in with head or heart, we've only got half a picture. So it's good to just, once we've regulated, to stop and first of all think about our heart. What are we actually feeling? And name that feeling and give yourself grace for having that feeling. Feelings are very human and they should be welcomed, whether that's anger, frustration, hurt, rejection, jealousy, whatever it is. So name the emotion. Where do you feel it? Is it in your chest? Is your face burning and feel like it's going to explode any second now? So, and then think about why am I feeling the way I am? So what is this feeling? Name it. And then this is where the head is. Okay, so am I making any assumptions here? So we're involving logic. What belongs to me? What belongs to the situation? Where might this be touching on a wound? Like, is there something else which has gone on when I was younger and this is layering on top of it? So this is where we start to rationally think about the emotion. And then when we have a full picture, so our nervous systems are regulated, we know what's going on in our heart, the feeling, we know what's going on in our head, we've analysed it a little bit, then ask yourself, is this something that I need to react on, or is it just something that I need to feel? Sometimes we just have emotions and we need to feel them and that's it. Other times we need to act on it. So then that's deciding, is this about me or is this a boundary that needs putting in? And honestly, this is a game changer in addiction, because if we can learn to regulate our emotions when we're starting to feel triggered, we can also apply this to a trigger, that horrible, intense craving. So calm the body, address the heart, address the head, and then decide if we're going to feel it or we're going to act and what we're going to do. So yeah. Hi, Chris. How are you doing? How was your Christmas, everyone, by the way? Happy Boxing Day. Hello, Blue Nose Addict, how are you doing? Bishop, hello. That's nice, my little regulars on. Hello, awesome friend. Hello. Just for anyone who's watching who's new to the channel, I'm a therapist, so if you've got any questions around addiction or mental health, I will do my best to answer. So do fire some questions at us. Chris has said, if anyone needs support, please reach out to me via email or my website, and also like and subscribe. Thank you, Chris. West is best, Nadine. I don't know what you mean by West, but Midnight Mag, up the tune, fully agree. Definitely. So yeah, thinking about emotional regulation. So one of the things is as well, so I used to try and think that we're only allowed positive emotions, and by accepting that all spectrum of emotions are human and actually they all tell a story, so they all serve a purpose. And by recognizing that, okay, I've had this emotion, it's welcome, let's just explore it, not necessarily react. We want to maybe act on it, but not react. We start to also do something else, is we start to let go of shame. We start to say, okay, it's okay to have emotions, and we dismantle shame. And that, again, learning to dismantle shame over being human is going to be so helpful in addiction recovery, because we're going to have loads of emotions around our addiction. And if we can learn to just regulate them, to not blow them out of proportion, but just sit with them and rationalize with them, it'll start to get easier to deal with that shame and to deal with the emotions. But equally, the other thing that's key with this is when we have addiction, often when we remove the addiction, especially if it's like drug or alcohol that we're using all the time, we then have to face all these emotions. And this is one of the things that a lot of people in recovery talk about, is all of a sudden I've got to feel my feelings and it's so uncomfortable. So practicing every day on regulating your nervous system, naming how you feel, accepting that it's okay to feel, and then rationalizing those thoughts and then deciding how to proceed. If you're practicing that every single day, then what that means is all them emotions which are going to come up to the surface, you're going to be able to manage them better, which means they're not going to be as destabilizing, which means addiction recovery is more likely to be sustainable. And if you're somebody watching and you're in addiction, active addiction, and you don't feel quite ready to stop the addiction, you can every day practice emotional regulation. So you can think of it like, I'm still moving toward recovery, but right now I'm learning to scaffold my emotions so that when I come to it, it's going to be easier to deal with. So everyone can practice. And also, the more we feel our emotions, the more we realise they're not as big and horrible and as scary as what we think. I think a lot of it is the shame attached to emotions. User JB is saying from Birmingham, oh, nice fellow Brummie. You're not a fellow Brummie, but I love Brummies. A fellow in I was going to say Northerner, you're not even a Northerner, are you? Fellow English person, for fuck's sake. You see, we're watching my live shows, you're awesome, keep it going, thank you, I appreciate that. Foxy, emotional regulation, yeah. Emotional regulation, it's not easy, especially for people who are neurodivergent as well. That's one of a key, I don't like the word symptom, but it's one of the things that a lot of diagnosis will look out for if you're neurodivergent. A lot of the different ones is emotional regulation. And it can be especially difficult, but it's also something that if we practice anything, whoever you are, if you practice, you will see improvement. Just sometimes it's harder. So if you are neurodivergent, you're going to be swimming against the tide a little bit, but you can still do it. So, and it will be super helpful, because a lot of the time, if you've got neurodivergence, you generally are more susceptible to addiction. So it's even more important to learn to regulate your emotions and being kind to yourself when you struggle a little bit. This history, hi, you're a gorgeous auntie, thank you. I am an auntie, I've got a niece and a nephew, very, very cute. 77 is saying Merry Christmas to all beautiful people. Merry Christmas, how was everyone's Christmas? Craig Palmer is saying, what's your thoughts on microdosing? I'm a little bit, somebody named this well today, they said reluctant to talk about it. I will talk about it, but I'm going to try and be careful. Because I try to be real, bear in mind harm reduction, and also not glamorise stuff, so we bear that in mind. So microdosing, there is research, emerging research that says it's beneficial. The problem is I don't know off the top of my head any countries where it's legal, but there might be some European countries. I know that in the UK it's certainly not. They're fighting for it. People like Basil van der Kolk and Gabor Mate are trying to fight for psilocybin drug-assisted therapy, which is slightly different. But with psychedelics, there is a lot of research, and not just psychedelics, there's ketamine, which has been helpful in other different narcotics, which they're using is to assist therapy and mental health. And there is very good evidence to show that it might be a great alternative. The problem is, if we're getting off the black market, the only thing I'd say in terms of harm reduction is, yes, there's a lot of people who say that it works for them. Because I don't want to sit here and say it's rubbish and then, Bob or Mildred from over the road are doing it and they're having a great time and mental health is improved. But you just don't know what your brain's going to react to it like. So yes, there's a lot of people who are doing it and they're getting good results. But for instance, I've got bipolar, and I didn't realise I had bipolar, so it could have triggered a psychotic episode. I know somebody who's been sectioned of taking mushrooms who had underlying schizophrenia. So we really don't know what our brains are like. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Very long-winded, but I'm trying to cover all bases. So Chris has said, training our subconscious by feeding our mind goes good things to replace that which chains us brackets addiction is a scary but good road down to go down and explore. Absolutely, it is so scary. It is scary. Doing anything that's change is going to feel uncomfortable. We are creatures of habit. Literally, that is what neuroplasticity is. It's just habit. We are habitual creatures, and change always does feel scary, but it is a really good road down. And if we're doing something that's not working, we can either continue doing the thing that's not working, aka addiction, or we can try and do different things to change. And it might not be one big change. It's going to be a series of little incremental changes that we're making every day. And you'll see it stack up. And it is, I think that's a really good way to describe it, a road to go down. Yeah, I love that. Chris, and Magic, I invite you to Puff Party. I don't know what a Puff Party is. But I'm good for partying. My party days, my party hat has been well and truly hung up. That is safe to say. I had 3, so I've quit drinking recently, but I've been toying with the idea of being abstinent or not. And I had 3 flutes of champagne because it's a tradition yesterday through the day, and I felt like I had a headache, and 1.5 glasses of Baileys on the evening, and honestly I had a headache this all day, and I just thought it's not even worth it. I was pacing myself so I didn't feel drunk. So there's zero party. Puff party or not. Mike saying Mike Tyson, black looks good on you, suits you, thank you. I used to wear every head to toe black. I was very Wednesday Addams vibes, and not so much now, so thank you. I'll take that on board. Personally speaking, in a bit vulnerability to maybe encourage someone. Oh, I love when people get vulnerable. It's just, being vulnerable is just key to life, I think. Anyways, I was here about a relapse, and then the life started. Making the decision to jump on wasn't easy, but I'm glad I did that. Oh, Chris, I'm so glad that you did that as well. And I'm it's just about doing things that are positive. I always think, we had someone earlier on today talking about mental health and how it's all well and good saying just, do all these great shiny things to make your mental well-being improve, but if you're in depression it's really hard. But just doing that one little thing can be helpful. So watching an inspiring podcast or something instead of doom scrolling, like you say, just jumping on a live. It's but I'm really glad you did that, Chris, and I'm buzzing for you, and I hope you're praising yourself for it as well. But and I hope that is a message to people that we can choose to do something more positive. And I think in addiction recovery, it is a constant string of, am I going to choose to do this, or am I going to choose to do something different? And it's really hard to be faced with that choice. And it's one that we've got to keep making, but it does get easier and it gets more few and far between. Christian, you are so cute, thank you. Mike, not complimenting you, it's true. I'll take that as truth. I always say that to my friends, it's like the truth. I'm not in for giving out fake fake compliments, just dish out truths. Right, Papa, yes, you are correct, chemical imbalance. A friend of mine tried acid, now he has schizophrenic episodes. Yeah, this is the thing, and we just don't know. The problem is, it's like anything, we don't even like prescription meds, we don't know how we're going to react to it. The only difference is when we're taking prescription meds, which are prescribed, not like pre-gabs or something, and they're getting from whoever. Prescription meds have adverse effects, and at least you're doing it though with a professional, and that's the worry I have about microdosing. Like, evidence does suggest that it's got good promising results, but we don't know. Yeah, and like Papa says, friend who now has schizophrenic episodes is somebody who's dealt with psychosis. That is life-changing in a horrendous way, because we might have genes, but those genes might not be activated, and this is where things like that can activate them. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've never took mushrooms or acid, but we do have to be careful. We do. Yeah, what's the first and the last is saying a fave or right day. What do you mean a fave or right day? What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate? Yeah, I think so there is one thing I will say. So the thing with microdosing is, if we think about why is microdosing helpful, and what we can do is try and create that in a more healthy way. So even with medication, so I was prescribed meds for my bipolar, and with healthcare professionals, what I've done is I've tried to replicate that, whatever benefits I was getting from the medications, I've tried to replicate that through practices, strategies, physical health, like looking after my physical health. Like, I've got a dietitian, so we can look about, okay, yeah, psilocybin is really helpful, there's research which says that, but why is it helpful, and can I do that in a way which is going to have less risk? Because any drug that we're putting in our body is going to have a risk, and that is also something we're getting prescribed. All chemicals we're putting in our body, like Papa says, is going to create a chemical imbalance, and it's going to have effects. So yeah. Have you taken Zyprexa or olanzapine? No, I haven't. What are they? Thank you, Mike, for the compliment. I'm definitely saying that as a compliment, not a comment. Oh God. No, I don't know what Zyprexa or olanzapine is. What is it? It's a bipolar meds, John. No, so I took quetiapine, and it really affected us, and they really helped in the beginning. Look, I was having psychosis, and I'm never going to sit here and say don't take medication. I was having psychotic episodes and got sectioned, and I'm a single parent. I had to be stabilised. The problem was they were over sedating us, so I ended up breaking my foot on it. I fell down the stairs. I was just that mongy. And I wasn't able to parent properly. They were just sedating us too much. I couldn't even wake up until 11, and I had a toddler, which realistically wasn't that safe, and then I was groggy till 1. So I decided I didn't feel comfortable taking meds. So with professionals, I've learned how to manage them holistically. And I know that's not what everyone can do. I think I've been fortunate. Aren't you able to work with being bipolar? So I'm just actually got to the point. So I've been with a psychiatric team, like a community psychiatric team, and I was told I wasn't able to work as a therapist just because it's unethical. So I've not been able to work for X amount of time. That's why I've started doing this. So I just thought I'd actually prefer to do this, because then it means that it's something that isn't as intense as having 25 clients a week. So I'm giving this a shot, and I've written a book. I'm going to give that a shot. But I think I could work now. I think I could work if I wanted to. Um, we've got to stabilize. I think the problem is, although I could work, and I mean, I assume you have bipolar, John. It's just if I can do something that's you can rev up and calm down, that would be more helpful. So I think it's more like not a case of can I work anymore, but rather what work do I want to do? Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, what do you have bipolar then, John, or you just know a lot about it? The thing with bipolar as well, like, so because I'm learning to manage it, I've learned, I think a lot of it, like anything, like addiction and any mental health, is understanding it and knowing your triggers. So learning about what research says. So how is the disorder or addiction experienced on a large scale? So how is it like commonly experienced? What's the research and evidence saying about it? And then learning about how does that show up for me in my personal experience. And that has been much more helpful than medication, because now I know when I'm going into hypomanic episodes that I need to stabilize, and when I'm going into a lower stabilize. So the last 4 episodes I've had, it's not escalated, it's been manageable. So yeah. Thank you, John, for saying I wish you the best, and thanks for answering. Mike saying I'm toned. Yeah, our fitness has been a big thing for managing my mental health. Huge thing. And I think as well, like I used to be really fit, so I wonder if I was managing it because of being really fit and healthy, and then when I got pregnant I stopped. It might have also been the fact that when I got pregnant my life got a lot more just a lot more stuff to think about than myself, so I started cycling through episodes. Has anyone got any questions around addiction and mental health? Because I'm kind of monologuing at the moment. John, I'm bipolar. I need to always be on point with my sleep unless I get into depression. But I'm training MMA and lifting weights to keep it in check. Yeah, John, that is the thing, sleep is key. So the only meds I do take, actually, I forgot to say this, is I take when I'm hypomanic. For those who don't know what hypomania is, like bipolar is a bit of a sliding scale of mood. And you could go from like really depressed to type 2 is like hypomanic, where you just... It's like ADHD on steroids. You're like, woo, I can change the world. I'm one of the chosen ones, that kind of malark. And just like full of energy, very creative. And then it can go up to mania, which is psychosis, which is type 1. Sleep, yeah, is really important. So I do take for hypomania Zopiclone and lorazepam if needed over a hypomanic episode, so I'm sleeping. But I do jiu-jitsu as well, so like martial arts is brilliant. I also dance, that's really helpful. Kind of go on and off with the gym, but I do like, yeah, just do what I can where I can. But yeah, it's massively important. I think for any mental health it is. Right, Chris, would you speak a bit on the subconscious and the best ways you have found to train it or retrain it? Yeah, I think first of all with the subconscious is recognizing, so I talked about us being creatures of habit, is recognizing that the majority of our behaviors come from our subconscious, not from the external. So if we remember that the external world is probably triggering something from our subconscious. So for example, somebody might say something to me about weight. And if I don't mind about my weight, so if I'm confident in my weight, I've never had anything said to us about my weight, I've never had any issues with it, then they might mention like, or something about my weight, and I wouldn't feel triggered unless it was malicious. I wouldn't really feel triggered. If somebody said something about my weight and I struggle with my self-image, and like I've had experiences in my life where I've been shamed for my weight, then that's going to have a huge emotional reaction. So I think first of all is remembering that the majority of things reactions and behaviors we have come from our subconscious, and then it's just about a case of like, okay, as and when it comes up, let's explore it and do it with as minimal amount of shame, give ourselves grace, and try and think about, okay, is this a reaction that I want to be having in the future? Is it helpful or is it not helpful? Because a lot of our behaviors are outdated and not really necessary anymore, and we can change them. So I think that's the key. Just and I hear a lot of people say, I don't know about you, say you can get into a habit of like therapizing yourself and doing too much inner work. I personally don't believe that. I think that, you know, there was somebody, I can't remember his name, but he's on a podcast and he said, like, I think that we will probably, up until our deathbeds, be learning about life and ourselves. So I think just constantly check yourself before you wreck yourself. Let's see what else. Homepage, do you have any gathering in person with people with mental health issues and addictions? Homepage, yeah, I do. I'm not in person, but I'm going to do online groups starting very soon, like in the next couple of weeks in January. So if you go to my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk, I also do, the group's free, by the way, and I also offer free one-to-ones with people who are struggling in addiction and they're in dire straits. So you can also go to my website and I can arrange a one-to-one, a phone call. Benzodiazepines help, I find, keeping it mental. Is that for bipolar? Yeah, John, I take Zopiclone as well and do BJJ. Yeah, I think Zopiclone is, for me, I think it's just like, it's good. Just I'd rather do a medication like as and when, as opposed to all the time, because you've got to think about risk reward. I'm getting referred to a sleep clinic actually, John. They've put us on melatonin, slow release. It's just not doing anything. So now they're going to refer us to a sleep clinic. So I'll see what comes out of that. But yeah, I love jiu-jitsu. I'm still a spazzy white belt. What about you? How long have you been doing MMA for? Yeah, Chris has just said I offer a free one-to-one. Thank you. My grandfather as a kid was in London, bombing cadet farming in Chipping Norton, immigrated to New Zealand. Oh, booming cadet or bombing. I thought you said bombing cadets. I'm so bad at reading these comments, by the way. On your spicy brain. So where are you from then? Are you from New Zealand? Oh, hi, Kevin. How you doing? Nice to see you again. Right. How does an online group work? So it's just going to be through, I think, Google Meet, I'm thinking. But a bit like a Zoom. So you can, so what I want it to be, the idea for it is I want people to be able to be anonymous if they want to. So if you don't, so you can make up your own name. You can have this screen, you can turn the camera on or you can turn it off. And each week I've already created a 12-week program, not NA or anything, just like something that I think will be helpful for recovery each week. And then obviously just like chatting, so like a bit like this, but just I can hear what you're saying, a bit of a back and forth and just kind of like group camaraderie. I'm going to be quitting vaping with you as well. That's the last addiction I've got on the list, and I thought I'm going to do it with you, so I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. But yeah, and the group that I'm doing is mainly around stabilisation. So it's not, I'll be giving tips on how to help you with addiction. I'll be answering questions. It'll be quite a small group, but also just learning ways to just stabilise yourself, so you get to a point that when you remove the addiction, or if you've already removed it, that it's going to be sustainable, because your quality of life's going to improve. Because ideally we want to have the quality of our life much better than the addiction. We want to feel comfortable in our own minds and our own bodies, and we want our external world to be something that isn't just a big fat trigger, big fat fuck off trigger. Because I think that's the problem with addiction recovery. We come out of it and like our lives are shambles. Most of us don't have very good relationships with ourselves, and we remove the one comforting thing in our life, the addiction, and then we wonder why a lot of people relapse. So yeah. Right, I'm sorry if you can hear my friend's dog kicking off downstairs, by the way. Right, Michael Gay Muslim here, love that. Prescription drugs dampen your true powers. Yeah, I think that's true, but then also there's true powers, right? But then there's also walking around naked in my local park thinking I'm getting beamed up by aliens, you know. We've got to be realistic about, like, I felt like I had superpowers, didn't. Was just absolutely on planet bonkers mental. So I think prescription drugs can dampen superpowers, because look, if we look like ADHD, you're 300 times more likely to be an entrepreneur. If you look at like autism, your brain runs 7 times faster than the average for somebody without autism. If you look at bipolar, you're 50% more likely 50% more likely to have your own business. And this is because like you tend to be more creative, and I'm sure the statistics for all different things. BPD, you tend to be a lot better at reading situations and emotions. So there are superpowers for these things, but there's also some massive fucking problems with them as well. So I think it's about weighing up like a risk reward, and then trying to do stuff which is like holistic, so hopefully we don't need the medication, but also accepting that sometimes we need to just be on medication. It's not okay walking around naked. Oh god. Right, Kimmy, I did jiu-jitsu for a few months and it killed my body. Fair play to you. Oh, it is a all over pain. It just absolutely, not even my body, it just absolutely bruises your ego on the regular. Like, I'm terrified going in because I'm just like, oh, I'm just gonna, like, my ego is gonna take an absolute batter in here again. I've actually been off because I sprained my toe, but I'm going back. This starting again in the 5th of January, so I'm gonna go back. I love it and hate it at the same time. Jolene, hello, it's been a while. Nice to see you, Jolene. I'm glad to see you going strong still. Thank you. You have great insight. Oh, I really appreciate that, Jolene. How are you doing? How was Christmas, everyone? And how was Christmas for you, Jolene? Eating a lighter dinner and taking a warm shower before going to bed work miracles for me and my sleep routine. I've never thought about having a warm shower. Could try that. I'm not a big shower person. I like baths. But that makes sense, actually, if you think about it, because if you have a warm shower, I suppose warm bath would work as well. But the only thing is, like, when I'm too tired, I get stuck in the bath and I can't get out. I, like, turn into, like, a wrinkled prune, and then I end up, like, staying up past my bedtime. But when you make yourself hot, it drops your temperature. So then it means it puts you in a better position to sleep. So yeah, that makes sense. But a lighter dinner, yeah, I could try eating something small because I don't eat past a certain time. Trial and errors. And anybody else got any things which help with sleep? I think sleep's a big thing that a lot of people deal with, and it's a lot of people are dealing with mental health, and I think sleep could just be something that would help mental health and addiction. But it's just fucking hard. I don't know if everybody else finds it as hard as I do. My 10-10 without makeup. I've got makeup on. I love doing my makeup. It's a little self-care thing. I've got my own little dressing table. I just love sitting with a nice hot cuppa doing my makeup. I don't sleep much, but when I do that, I sleep like a baby. Yeah, I think it just is in life. I don't know anybody who gets a full amount of sleep. It's huge though. It's so important. Does weed count? Weed for what? Do you mean for the addiction group? Yeah. Just anything that, look, if you're struggling with anything, yeah, that counts. Were you targeted by kit dealers or was it through peer group, etc.? Namro. No, I wasn't targeted. I was hounding the dealers, not the other way around. That was for sure. So I first took ketamine when I went to Ibiza. When I lived in Ibiza, I did 4 summers there. So that was my first experience of ket. Then my friend, then I didn't take it for ages, and I made a deal with my friend. So I didn't have an issue, but I made a deal with my friend, and my friends started taking it, and I was like, whoa, you don't have that big lines, and I was like kind of helping them with it. But we all took drugs. It wasn't just ketamine. Like, I just took anything, any recreational drugs and alcohol. And then, yeah, but then I started taking it again, did it recreationally for quite a long time. But then just, it was when I started doing my counselling training, I started unearthing loads of traumas, and I started like getting PTSD flashbacks and stuff. And then that's when it turned from recreational use to using it every day. And then it wasn't very long after using it every day that I got a full-blown addiction. Ross, yeah, but that's you. Don't feel bad. Oh, God, I don't know what you're talking about. I feel like I've been nattering on a bit since you sent that. Going to take care of my daughter now. Love to all and praying for you. Keep fighting. Look to Christ and be free. Be blessed, everyone. Thanks, Chris. I don't know if you've left, but if you haven't, bye. It was nice, nice for you to join, as always. I'll check with you later when you get your meetings together. Yeah, Kevin, have you already messaged us? I feel like you have. I've definitely been speaking to Kevin. Ross Cameron, when you understand the true nature of reality, you need to let go of fear. I'm off, God bless. I assume you've already went, but if you haven't, see you later, Ross. But yeah, Ross is so right. We all have fear, but we could also be brave. That's what I tell myself. Deed is saying accent is from the northeast. It sure is. Newcastle. John, what did you say? Dr. Ray said that said eat a small bowl of ice cream before bed helps sleep. That makes sense actually, because this is something one of my friends told us actually, so it was somebody who we both had an addiction basically. And when I used to struggle to sleep, he said have some sugar, because you'll go shoot up and then you'll have a sugar crash and it makes you go to sleep. So I wonder if it's to do with that. I can't say my friend was scientific. But yeah, that would make sense. I'm going to look into that. Thanks, John. Do you take any supplements? I take a few. I've got one for my gut. I really struggle with my gut. I've got a sensitive gut. So I take like enzymes. I've stopped taking magnesium because they've been but I did used to take magnesium glycate. I stopped taking it because they're trying as a melatonin, so I wanted to see how that would affect me sleep. Vitamin D3 and L-thiamine. What about you guys? Does anyone take supplements? I used to be dead against them, and then I just thought I've put worse things in my body. If it helps, it helps. Has anyone seen that meme where it's like, in your 20s, it's like now thinking about, do I put this supplement in my body? And then it's like in my 20s and there's like someone just off the nut in Ibiza, and I'm like, yeah, get real, Ash, like you've done worse things. I'm sure a supplement will be fine. Oh, this is another one I take. It's like hydration, so don't drink enough water. John, am I from Newcastle? I'm from Sheffield, but I've lived here since I was really young. Oh, hi from San Diego. Say hello to San Diego. Hi from north of England. I stopped magnesium. I think it was making me more anxious. I wonder if maybe. I don't know. This is a problem with supplements. We don't know how it's going to react with our bodies to them and our brains, and we don't know. And also, like, they're not regulated, so one can set off another thing. It's like anything as well. I was a little bit apprehensive about taking them, and I was on the fence, but then I don't know why I did start taking them. I just did. Anyways, I'm going to end it there because I'm looking after my friend's dog and he has not stopped barking the whole time I've been up here. So I'm going to leave it there. I'll be back on, what day is it today? I don't even know what day it is, guys. Is it Friday? Yeah, so I'll be back on Monday. Go live every Monday at 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, GMT time. If anybody was wanting some free support, go on my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk. Oh, thanks for whoever's given us likes. And yeah, if anyone could subscribe if you haven't, that would be great. Thanks, Mike, for saying take care, and I hope you all have a lush, nice and happy Boxing Day. Bye from Norway. I've been to Norway. I did a trek there. I loved it. I think I stayed in Warsaw. I can't remember where I did the trek, but I did it across to Switzerland. It was lush. And I went skiing there as well. Anyways, see you later, everyone. Bye. See you Monday, lightning shower.